I'm making this video for those of you that feel like you have this gnawing feeling inside that is urging you to meditate, but you hate doing it. You seem to never find the time to do it, or you never seem to make a consistent practice of doing it. So this video is for you. I'll be going over the proper meditation posture as recommended by Yogananda and the Self-Realization Fellowship, and I'll also be going over some basic techniques that you can start with as well as how to implement this into your life so that it feels doable. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this information is helpful, then please like, share, subscribe, or comment so that more people have access to this video. And if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're interested in working with me, then please reach out to me at the email provided in the description box below. I consider myself an avid meditator. I practice the Self Realization Fellowship techniques of meditation and concentration under the guidance of Yogananda. My practice is about 3 hours a day that I split into two 1.5 hour sessions in the morning and in the evening, sometimes the afternoon. And it's the practice of Kriya Yoga. The technical term for a Kriya Yogi is a Kriya Bon. It's a home study program. You receive lessons that Yogananda has written every 2 weeks for about 3 years. And it constitutes about 98 lessons to be exact, and a little bit more if you decide to go through the Kriya Yoga initiation. I'm not going to go over the specific techniques or the details that are outlined through SRF. If you're interested in that, I highly recommend that you check it out for yourself. I can leave that link in the description box below for any of you who are interested. But today's video is really just to give you a grasp, a handle on how to incorporate meditation into your life, whether or not you decide to go through Self-Realization Fellowship or not. The path that Yogananda outlines through SRF is rooted in meditation. He puts such an incredible amount of emphasis on the need to meditate. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned one of the lines that he says, one of the quotes is, "Read a little, meditate more, and think about God all day long." So that's the hierarchy of things that he thinks we should prioritize. And he says that God is the joy felt in meditation. That's how he describes God. So Yogananda's prescription or path to God is through meditation, and meditation that is done deeply and daily. Now, in a minute, I'm going to go over some of the different ways that you can sit in meditation to find that place of stillness and deep peace. The thing that you encounter when you begin meditating is there's so much restlessness. There's so much of this need to fidget, to scratch yourself, to be constantly thinking about what you're going to eat or do, or things that you forgot to tell somebody, and it's just incessant. So, part of what I found that really works for me is finding a way that I can sit comfortably so that I can deeply, deeply relax. Now, the other thing on a just very practical level is figuring out how to make time to meditate. Now, for me, because it's 3 hours of my day, I've realized that since I have a daughter that I have to take to school and she gets up around 6, I have to wake up at 4:30 every morning in order to make sure that I have enough time to do my meditative practices before I take her to school. Now, when I first started doing this, it was rough, but I did find a little hack that really works that helps me just get up at 4:30 in the morning. So, obviously, part of what helps me get up is going to sleep early. Now, I know that for some of you, that's a huge sacrifice. Usually, I'm in bed and asleep between 9 and 9:30. Sometimes when I'm just wrecked, it's earlier, which is kind of ridiculous, I know. But what really does it is this very simple thing that is also helping me build an incredible amount of willpower. And what I do is I set my alarm for 4:30, and then when my alarm goes off, I just grab my phone and I turn the alarm off. And then the first thing I do with my eyes closed while I'm laying in bed is I just have a short prayer to God. And then what I do, and this is the secret, which is so simple, it's kind of ridiculous, as most simple things are. You just sit up and you just get up. And you do not allow yourself to rationalize why you have to get up. You just sit up. You just do it. There's no like thinking involved. You don't allow yourself to mentally complain and ruminate. I'm so tired. Like, don't allow any of that stuff to go through your head. And even if it does, just pop up out of bed. And it works. It really, really works because you're sort of bypassing all of the things that your body is dragging you into doing. And you, as the awareness, as the one that is really in control of the body and the mind, just decides it's time to get up. And the faster I get out of bed, the better. So that's the key. That's the secret. Now, Yogananda also says that there are many benefits to meditating right when you wake up. Not only is your stomach empty, so when you do some of the pranayama exercises, it's really easy to do them without having food in your stomach. It's always recommended to do them that way. And it's also really of benefit to train the body and the mind right when you wake up because that's when you're the most suggestible. All of these spiritual practices that you're doing are best done when you're in that highly suggestible state, which is right in the morning and right before you go to bed. That's why he recommends that you do them then. Because as you practice meditation, what you're doing is you're rewiring your brain. You're becoming more conscious. You're becoming more aware of yourself, of your true nature. Now, here's the thing that I think everybody can agree with. We all have 10 minutes twice a day that we can spare. It's not going to make a difference if you sleep 10 minutes longer in the morning. I know that it might seem that way, but I promise you it does not. If you wake up 10 minutes earlier than you typically do to meditate, you'll feel so good. It's such a wonderful way to start the day. And this is true for the evening practice. You can sleep 10 minutes later and calm your mind, calm your body so that you have better sleep. So these things are very easy to implement. Now, Yogananda goes so far as to say you don't even need to do 10 minutes in the morning and in the evening. You can start with a few minutes of meditation every single day, but be resolved in your efforts to make sure that that meditation is deep. Go as deep as you possibly can. And by this, I mean focus so intensely on your breath or on silence and just being still and watching your thoughts, whatever practice that you want to implement, but really, really focus your attention, your awareness on whatever it is that you're practicing. And then naturally, as you enjoy meditating, because it feels so good, because you feel this deep sense of peace and calm and eventually joy and bliss, you're going to want to meditate longer and longer. And then you'll just let go of time altogether if you have the luxury to do that, of course. Now, the other thing that really helps is having the right mindset. No matter what you're trying to accomplish, when you have the right mindset, it feels doable. Now, the mindset that really helps me with meditation is letting go of this need to get results right away because the results come later. It's like anything. I learned this from dancing. If you want to be a really good dancer, if you want to get to that level where you're a professional dancer, it doesn't happen overnight. It took 10 years of dancing 6 days a week from morning to evening to get to that place where I really had some mastery. And this is true for any skill that you're trying to acquire. It takes time. So give yourself a break. Don't expect to commune with God in a few months or even a few years. Just decide that you're going to find out and experience for yourself the beauty and the gifts of meditation, no matter how long it takes. And the real shift for me came when I decided to have this mindset that I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this as me time, as self care, as a way to commune with God, with Source, with consciousness. And this time is just for me. It's to allow myself, my soul, to reconnect with the truth of what is. And that is such a profound act of self love. And the more that we do this for ourselves, the more we realize that that's really the deep benefit here is that there's a commitment to remembering what we are. And I promise you, the benefits are beyond imagination. I have experienced things that are so incredible, that are so life changing, that words do not describe those experiences. And I don't even want to use words to describe them because it's impossible to describe them using words. But go and experience it for yourself. It's like anything. Experience is king. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the meditation posture, and then I'm going to go over a few different seats that you can use for meditation. Now, for me, I have a neck injury from dancing. So I have three herniated discs and a compression fracture. So meditating for long periods of time without moving is very difficult for me. Not only do I seem to go numb because maybe my circulation is just poor at this point, but I also have a lot of neck pain and sometimes lower back pain. So, hopefully, this is helpful for you guys. The first meditation seat is just an office chair. This is what I typically sit on when I'm sitting at my desk. And as you can see, I have my palms facing up at the crease of my hips. My hips are tilted slightly forward. My stomach is gently pulled in. Shoulders are open. And it's important here to note that my thighs are parallel to the floor. This is very critical in terms of getting the hips and the spine to stay straight. We also want to make sure that our chin is level to the floor and that we don't eventually slouch, which is the tendency. And when you're in this position, the thing that I find to be most important is that we find a deep state of relaxation in that position. Now, what I'm doing here, even though my head is cut off because my room is kind of small and I couldn't zoom out enough, is that we're focusing our attention on the third eye. Now, another thing that you can do if you find that you need a little bit more height is you can put a very thin pillow underneath your butt just to give yourself a little bit more height. Okay, now the next position is on the floor. This is a zabuton pillow, and I find that it really helps me with keeping my knees off of the floor. So I like it a lot. I don't know if this would work for someone who's taller, longer, just bigger in general. I'm about 5'7", so it works for me, but I think it works for most people. And in this position that you see me in, it's just a regular cross-legged position. And I'm going to show you the side view because when I sit in a half lotus position, it really helps to keep my back straight. It's much easier in a half lotus position to keep the spine straight than just a regular cross-legged position. At least that's what I found. So now you'll see I'm in a half lotus. I don't know if you can tell, but it definitely feels a lot different. Okay, now this pillow is just a round meditation pillow. It's a buckwheat pillow. I would say that this is probably one of my least favorite pillows because of its size. This is what I started out with. But it does do the job, and it's definitely firm, and if it works for you, great, but this is definitely not my favorite pillow. And then now this pillow, I find is an upgrade from the smaller one just because it's wider. So it's got a lot more surface area for your hips, and I like this one a lot better. And I remember when I got this pillow, I was really happy with it, and I find that I need to sort of press it down in the front so that my hips are tilted again because like I said, that's a really key component to making me feel comfortable is having my hips tilted slightly forward. Now, this last meditation seat is by far my favorite. And you put your feet as shown. It's just been a godsend. I mean, it was not cheap with tax. It came out to about $350. But since I sit in it for 3 hours a day, I found that it was well worth the purchase. I'll leave a link for it in the description box below. I have no affiliation with this company, but if anybody out there is interested in getting it, I'll just leave that link for you. Now I'm going to show you the side view. So it's got this lovely curve, which gives me that oh so wanted tilt to my hips. And I like to sit all the way back because it really hugs my legs and my hips, and my feet get nice and cradled. And it sort of feels like you're just floating in the air. And it's just so lovely. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some techniques that you can use. Yogananda's definition of meditation is being able to single pointedly focus on God and nothing else. So, in order to do that, we have to build our skill of concentration because it's not going to happen otherwise. I mentioned this in my last video, but our mind is the master of us. Most people are a slave to their mind because their mind is just running old thought programs that we've been conditioned to believe are true. And those programs are just running and running and running, and we're not really even aware of what those programs are. And so, in order to build this ability to really concentrate single pointedly on God, we have to build this muscle of concentration so that we can stop allowing our awareness to be pulled in a million different directions and instead focus on one thing at a time. So, the best way to do that is to focus on your breathing. Now, I'm wearing mala beads. A lot of you may know what those are, but they're used to count the breath. In Kriya practice, if you become a Kriya Bond, you'll use these beads to count each Kriya. And so, for the purpose of this technique that I'm going to be teaching you, we can use these and you can decide beforehand how many breaths that you want to count by simply tying a little piece of yarn between one of the beads. And then you'll know, like, let's say this is, I haven't counted these, but let's say this is about like 16 breaths. And what you're going to do is every time you have an inhale and an exhale, that will count as one round of breathing. And then you're going to slide your fingers down to the next bead, and then that'll count as another round. And then with your, because your eyes are going to be closed, by the time you get down to this last bead where the tassel is, you'll know that you'll have completed all of your breaths. So you can decide today, I want to count 20 breaths, or I want to do 50 breaths, depending on how long it takes you and how much time that you want to devote to your meditation practice or your concentration practice. Okay, so the technique is this. Every time you're holding a bead, an inhale and an exhale counts as one round of breathing. And what you're going to do is you're going to count on the inhale, mentally count one, and then on the exhale, one. And then you're going to move your fingers over to the next bead, and then inhale, two, exhale, two. So you'll be breathing. That's one, and it's gonna sound like one on the inhale, and on the exhale, one, and then two, two, three, three, and then you're gonna go all the way up to whatever number that you've done. Now, some people just like to use the beads as their mindfulness practice. It's remembering at the end of each exhale to slide your fingers over to the next bead. But I actually think it's powerful to do both the counting and the sliding because you need several reminders to keep your mind focused on what it is that you're focusing on. So I would recommend that you do both, but play around with this and see what works for you. Now, the actual practice of meditation, according to Yogananda, like I said, is just focusing on God. But what I really think is powerful is just focusing on stillness, on that quiet stillness within you, that peace, solitude. That's really where I like to go during meditation. I know so many people love to do guided meditations, and I do think that they have their place. But I really think that what we're trying to do is recognize our soul nature, recognize that we are one with God, that there is nothing that's separating us from God, that that divinity is within us, and that we are that, right? I and my Father are one. So realizing that is the goal. And in order to do that, I think that we need to get to that really quiet, still place so, of course, we achieve this through not moving at all in meditation. And even if you do that just for a couple minutes a day, it's huge in terms of what it's going to do to you. It's so helpful in terms of the amount of awareness that you begin to have in your life because that state of deep peace and stillness where you're not overrun by thinking and feeling, and instead you're just aware of presence, of stillness, of peace. So, those are the two really simple techniques that you can start applying today and realize that when you do this every single day, twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, or even if you can find time in the afternoon, like on your lunch break, to sit there at your desk just for a few minutes and regain some of that awareness and that peace. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with, which is so critical, is that having a meditation practice is important. But what's more important is that you take that feeling of peace, calm, joy, stillness with you throughout the day, that you apply everything that you feel in meditation to your daily life. Because having a meditation practice is sort of like being on a bicycle with training wheels. It's retraining, reshaping you to remember that what you are is awareness, is that wonderful God consciousness. Now, if we do our meditation practice and then we just drop it and go about our day and get back into our typical regular routine of being reactive and being unconscious, then we're sort of throwing away our meditation practice because the point of that practice is so that we can live that, so that we can become that, not so that we can throw it away. So I hope that you can commit to having this practice because it will change you for the better and it will affect everyone in your life, not just you. I love you all so much. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.